Hi, how's your dog doing? Yes, I have a face. I'm trying it out for this new year, and we'll see how things go. So first, Linus might look a lot like you. He's tried to learn a second language, Spanish. But when the time comes for him to actually speak to native speakers, he turns and walks away, saying he'll try some other time. He never tries it again, completely stunting his progress. Marcus Aurelius, on the other hand, understands how to gain courage and confidence for any situation, knowing he's perfectly prepared with all the tools he needs. After all, you need that kind of confidence to lead men on the battlefield and to rule the most powerful nation in the world. Probably just like you, I used to struggle with being confident when it came to language learning. I also had trouble expressing myself fluently. I distinctly remember one time when I was visiting a friend to kind of join them in a Latin class, and I was so nervous about actually speaking in Latin, even though I had already been studying for at least a year, that I was kind of trying to cram it in before the appointed date. That's what I was like. I remember that every time I would watch a YouTube video in Latin, I would turn the subtitles on because I wasn't even confident that I could listen and understand that language. I remember just thinking with the friend, oh, what would they think if I messed up? What would they think if I got this wrong, messed up the pronunciation, or if I used the wrong verb conjugation or the wrong noun declension or the wrong case or any of this stuff? I remember what if I was so afraid of feeling like all of that work I had done was for nothing, especially with the YouTube videos, because I was like, if I can't even understand it when I listen to it, how much work have I really done? I was scared to do what would actually help me progress. Imagine feeling so self-conscious that you are not only afraid to speak in a language you've been studying for over a year, but you're afraid to even hear anything in it. That really just holds you back from all of the benefits that language learning gets you. Now, of course, not completely, but it stunts so many of the benefits. If you don't take action now, your lack of language confidence will hinder you on this journey. And I'm telling you, it is a beautiful journey. If you want to become a polyglot, this is something that you will have to overcome. Because how are you going to get anywhere when you can't even speak to other people? I found an immersive Latin class. The other one I was just talking about, they didn't actually speak in Latin. They were essentially just doing translations. But I found an immersive Latin class, all in Latin. Not a word was spoken in English, Spanish, any other language, because the people in it were from around the world. What other language would we even be able to use other than Latin? So that instantly improved my speaking and my listening abilities in Latin. Pretty much shattered any fears I had. So I decided to research a bunch of mindsets and a bunch of language learning techniques and strategies, so that way maybe you could also help to get rid of all this fear that you have. It nearly changed everything that I know about confidence, language learning, and a lot of other things. And to be honest, this is only a small facet of the language learning journey, but it's an important one. Eventually, I started implementing much of these strategies, not only in regards to language learning, but also just in my daily life. I use some of the things I learned in order to make this very YouTube video. So it will affect so many different aspects of your life. So even if you give up language learning, you will still have amazing knowledge that you can use for the rest of your life. When you're 85 years old, you'll still be able to use some of these techniques that you learn. I was never afraid of conversing in general, but now I find myself being so much more open to talking to other people. I don't just sit in the back of the room or stay with the people I already know. I'm actually willing to go and talk to other people. I know that may seem like a loser, like I was already willing to talk to other people and get to know them, but that was only if they approached me, not really the other way around. Maybe I'd bump into someone and talk, but now I'm really willing to just go and talk to people. Do I like parties? No. I don't. They're really boring. But will I still take the opportunity to talk to people? Absolutely. Just imagine yourself with the confidence to speak to so many different groups of people in so many different languages, enriching your life, improving your life. Sounds nice, doesn't it? What would your life look like after that? After you implemented the What would your life look like after that? After you've implemented all the techniques in this video? Be great, wouldn't it? You'd have plenty of friends from different language communities or different countries. You'd really open up a whole new door of opportunities. So, this is the plan that I have for this. So here in this video, I'm going to essentially demonstrate all the knowledge that you're going to need, and maybe I might even amend this. So maybe I might delete this video at some point, but I still think that for now, the knowledge I'm giving is incredibly valuable. So before we even get into like the real part of this video, here's just something that you can do right now. No matter where you are, you could be at your desk, you could be in school, at work, on the toilet. But something you can do right now, that you can just open up your phone, open like the Notes app on your phone or whatever, just write down an ideal time for setting aside some time for pronunciation and stuff like that. Just set some time for speaking exercises, pronunciation, anything else that could really help you, and maybe listening as well. Just setting aside a time for that and writing it down, it'll really stick home. It'll, oh my God, what am I saying? It will really hammer down the point that this is something that you should be doing. If you just have it in your head, it will not be the same as if you write it down. I don't have my phone to show you because my phone's what my camera is right now. But if I had it, I'd be able to show you that my lock screen on my phone is my schedule. Because when you have that stuff written down and you can see it right there, that really gets you focused. Like, this is what I should be doing at this time. Instead of just having it in your mind where you might forget it, or you might be more willing to bend things to be more flexible to what you feel like doing right then and not what you know you need to do. Rant/video meet. So the first thing that we should actually be talking about here in this like main section of the video is, why is confidence in language learning actually important? This is going to be pretty short because it's pretty obvious why. So as you know, languages are meant to be spoken or signed or written or whatever form. They're supposed to be used for communication of some kind. Okay, so this is going to be pretty obvious, but the purpose of language, why languages exist, is for communication, whether that be spoken, written, signed. I don't know sign. I don't know ASL or any of the other sign languages. Sorry, but whatever system of communication that may be, language is meant for communication. So obviously, if you build up the courage to actually go and use the language with other people, you're obviously going to make a lot of strides. For example, if you talk to native speakers in whatever language you're speaking, you're automatically going to be looking out for stuff like maybe pronunciation, like maybe something subtle that you didn't even notice. Maybe the way that maybe there's one subtle thing about a vowel that you didn't even notice before. And even if your language doesn't have native speakers, it's still really helpful, especially if that person is ahead of you. Like, for example, let's say that you want to learn Tokipona and you want to speak to someone else who speaks it. Obviously, if they're ahead of you, you're going to gain more knowledge. You'll see how it's used in a more casual sense, stuff like idioms, pronunciation, how certain things are actually said, how they're really used, or how words are really used, all this different stuff. That can only really be gained by talking to other people, or at least interacting with them. It doesn't be direct like speech like I'm doing here. It can be written, it can however the language is used to communicate, just do some of that because that'll really help you to like gain a better idea as to how to actually use the language. So that part was pretty obvious. Now, something that I think is a little more interesting and a little more applicable to the rest of your life is what is confidence? Now, sure, you can look it up and you'll probably get some nice dictionary definition. Actually, let's look up the dictionary definition right now. Okay, so the dictionary definition of confidence is essentially the belief that you can trust something. But we're not just talking about like confidence, but here we're not just talking about confidence as a thing, we're talking more about it as a trait that you possess. So when it comes to confidence being a trait, how does that really manifest itself in a person? Well, the way that I would define confidence as a trait and something that a person has is essentially the belief that with whatever you're doing or whatever is going on, that you will be okay. For example, let's say that I'm at a party, right? Again, I just said I don't really like them too much, but I still go to them sometimes just to talk to people. Sometimes you just need to do that, go with your friends, whatever. But let's just say I'm at a party. And if I have the confidence to go and talk to random people who I've never seen before, never met before, what that really shows about me is that I have the belief that no matter what I say, no matter what they say, no matter what I think of them, no matter what they think of me, no matter the environment, that I'm gonna be okay. It's essentially the trust and belief in myself that I will be okay after this event. Another example is, let's say that I'm gonna go take a test. No, another example is with test taking. Let's say it's the day before a test and they're like I won't say dumb people, but the less studious people. And then we have like the average people, and we have the smarter or more studious people. So all the more studious, smarter people, why would they be confident in their ability to take the test? Well, because they know they've studied for it and they know they're probably going to get a good grade on it. Or alternatively, they didn't study for it, or they know that they're just going to do well even without studying, or because they know that their grades won't suffer too much even if they did get a bad grade on this test. Like, there are plenty of people, I've been one of those people where it's like, yeah, I could totally get a D on this test or a D on the exam and still finish with an A in the class, stuff like that. That's always funny. But that's because they know that they're going to be okay no matter what the result is. Now, the average people who aren't so confident in themselves are going to feel something more like, oh, I need to study because I'm not completely confident in my abilities. Now, why? Because they are not entirely sure that they will. Now, they feel this way because they're not entirely sure that they'll be okay after the test. So they feel this way because they're not entirely sure that they're going to be okay after taking the test. You guys see where I'm going? And then I'd say there are probably two kinds of, like, let's say less studious people. There are going to be kinds that are worried and the kinds that are not. So where does this come from? The kinds that are worried, again, because they're not sure that they're going to be okay after the test. Maybe they know that if they do really poorly on this test, which they probably will, their parents will be really mad at them. They know that if they don't do really well on this, Morgan, take Lindsay out. They know that if they don't do really well on this test, which they probably will, they know that maybe their parents will be mad at them, be yelling at them, be all mad and all that. Now, the people that don't care, that's because they know that at the end of the day, they will be okay. Their grade may suffer, but they will be okay at the end of the day. So they'll be fine no matter what the result from the test is. So that's kind of how I see confidence. In another video, I might like develop it more, might like a more cohesive idea of what it is. But hopefully for now, this will suffice and you kind of get what I'm saying. That confidence is the knowledge, or at the very least, the belief that you will be okay no matter what happens. Where does this confidence come from? Now, I would say that there are essentially two ways where this can come from. You can either have like kind of an inherent confidence where just like you always have this belief that you'll be okay no matter what happens, or the more common way is that you build up confidence through competence. So for example, let's say that this is 15 years ago. That feels weird to say, but let's say that this were 15 years ago, it's 2008, and you were to ask Usain Bolt, will you be okay after the 100-meter dash or after the 200-meter dash? He'd say yes. Why? Because he knows that he is very competent at what he's doing. He knows that he's worked hard for it. He's put in the work and he's really good at it. So of course he's going to be confident because he knows this is something that he's good at. You kind of see what I'm getting? People tend to be really confident and also like more things that they're really good at. Now, the other more like constant confidence where just like you always feel okay, that is something that you can also develop, but that's through something that I'm going to mention later on in the video and not right now. But I will touch on it later on. So you can build up confidence as a traitist. You will always feel okay no matter what's going on, no matter anything. But most of the time, confidence when in regards to a specific but most of the time you are confident when it comes to a specific thing because you know that you are good at it and you've built up like the strength in it. Like you built up the ability to know, you've built up the ability to do well in it, and you know that you're going to most likely do well. Maybe Bolt would say something like, oh, I don't know, I could sprain my ankle during the run or trip or something. But most of the time, that's not going to happen. He knows he's going to do really well. And, you kind of see where I'm going with this. So one thing you might want to consider doing is, like, I'm not just saying like just get better, but maybe you should start working on it a little more to the point where you can kind of say, yeah, I'm decently confident with this. Maybe you're not confident in all situations in regards to language learning and speaking with other people, but you know that at a certain, like maybe in a cafe or something, you need to like talk to the waiter or something like that. But maybe you're not okay in, maybe you're not going to be okay in every single situation, which involves like speaking to someone in a different language, in a foreign language or in your second language, whatever. But maybe you know that you'll be okay in a more casual environment where you won't have to speak too much and you can use some more basic phrases, maybe in a cafe, restaurant, stuff like that. Maybe you know you'll do okay there, but you know you're not going to do well if someone asks you to write an academic thesis in that language on some topic you have no knowledge of. Like, sure, if I were dropped in the middle of Rome, if I were dropped in the middle of Rome in 1 AD, I probably could, like, talk to somebody, could probably talk to a Roman and, like, understand what they're saying, carry, like, a decent conversation. But if I were thrown into the middle of the Senate and I were asked to give a speech on a specific law, obviously I would have no confidence there and I would not be able to do it. So maybe you don't need to be confident in like every single level of the thing, but you might want to consider working up to being confident at like the base level so you can just get started, just get the ball rolling, because that's way more important than being absolutely perfect. Like what you need right now is just to get started being consistent and getting the ball rolling. For example, I've had friends ask me, oh, how should I get started with working out and exercising and stuff? Now, obviously, I'm not like massive or anything. You can kind of see that right now. I'm not massive or anything, but I have been exercising for quite a bit. I can kind of like give some tips for beginners and whatnot. And I would just tell them, if you want to get started, do one push-up right now. exercise for like 10 minutes every day. It's not about getting like the full hour-long workout, grinding hard sets and reps, like destroying your muscles. That's not what you need to focus on right now. What you do need to focus on, though, is making sure that exercising is a consistent habit and it's something that you know you can just kind of start doing. So if you're having trouble with getting started with exercise, just start by doing like one push-up every day. Even if you do one push-up every day, if you exercise, if you want to run for 10 minutes, if you ran for 2 minutes, if you did 5 sit-ups right now today, then and you did that like every day or most days of the week, something like that, where it's consistent, like it's a regular practice, you would immediately start seeing progress. And then you can start to build up and get to like the full 1 hour workout with the like perfect training split and like eating all the like right calories for whatever your goals are and eating all the healthy food. You can get to that later. But what's most important is that you are consistent and that you're like, this is a level that you're at. Like this is the level you should be at right now. So for language learning, how this applies to that is essentially just make sure that you're practicing like pronunciation and like basic phrases and stuff, and make sure you're practicing pronunciation, make sure that you're practicing basic phrases, pronunciation, some vocabulary, grammar, so that at the very least you can just start to talk to people. Now maybe you're at a more advanced level and you're still a little nervous when it comes to interact with other people using the language. When it comes to that, we're gonna get to that actually is like not the next point, but like the main point. I'm just gonna get through some other stuff before we get there. So again, that's more like a personality, like a trait thing where you need to build that up yourself, which we will get to in a second. I know I've been building this up, so once we finally get there, I hope you all get really excited and start celebrating, and you like get the champagne, start opening the bottles once we finally get to that section. However, there are some things we might need to deal with. You might have some limiting beliefs. For example, you might say something like, I'm not at a good level yet. Well, I just addressed that. It doesn't matter that you're at the perfect level, fluent native speaker, C2 level. That doesn't matter right now. What does matter is that you are at a level where you can just start to get the ball rolling, like I just said. I wouldn't, if someone asked me for like a workout routine, I would not give them like the full hour-long routine, like optimized for all the muscle groups that I do. I'd tell them to do like 10 push-ups, 10 sit-ups, 10 squats, something like that every single day, or like every other day, whatever, doesn't matter. The point is that I'd start them off with something simple just to get the ball rolling. If you want to start meditating, don't press the button to start the hour-long session. Just start with like 5 minutes, 3 minutes, if that. The one I use, Medito, or Medito, I don't know how it's pronounced, but the one I use, there's a 3-minute option. But the point is that don't start with the hard stuff. You're not at that level yet. That's like if you were playing a video game and you're at level 1 and you're trying to fight the boss that you need to be at like level 10 to defeat. Obviously, you're not going to do well when it comes to that. But you need to get to a decent level where you can actually start to like do the stuff that's hard for you right now. So for this case, that would involve just making sure that you're practicing consistently and getting to a decent level where you can start to talk to people. It doesn't have to be the full in-depth conversation. Just the most important phrase is that you can just say, I only speak a little bit, or I'm just learning, so that way people don't start trying to have like a full in-depth conversation with you and stuff like that. Just make sure that you can have a decent conversation just to get the ball rolling, so every time you encounter someone, that way you can just, again, carry a small, shallow conversation. That's the level you're at right now. And then you can start building up to a little bit more deeper, then you can start building up to like some deeper conversations. You know, instead of just asking like, what's your name, how old are you, what's your job, stuff like that, you can start asking like, oh, I don't know, what's your family like? Where do you live? Not like addresses, obviously. Don't ask for someone's address. But just like what area, what part of the city do you live in? Or like stuff like baby steps. And then you can start asking like the deep and then you can start asking like the deeper questions like what's your view on life, and like, oh, I read that um uh, or that you're running a thesis for college. Like you can start working on that stuff later. What's important is that you can just get the ball rolling so you can build up to that. The next thing you might say is that, oh yeah, I mean, I'm totally on board with all this confidence stuff that you're saying, but I'm still afraid that I'll sound stupid or I'll make a bunch of mistakes. And I know this is gonna be it's gonna sound like a stupid answer at first, but no one cares. Seriously, like if I started learning Russian, actually never mind. If I just start, what's my, if I just started learning Mandarin Chinese and I just went to like my local Chinese restaurant or something and started speaking to them a little bit, they're gonna understand. I'm not gonna be great. They really don't care. As long as they can understand you, that's all you need. It's okay if you sound a little dumb, or if you think you sound a little dumb, or if you make a mistake here or there. We do this naturally anyway. What you shouldn't do is like make a mistake and then make a big deal out of it. Like, for example, if I made a joke that didn't land or something, I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that I made that joke. It was absolutely terrible. Unless like they're offended by the joke or something like that, where it might warrant that. If I just made a bad joke that didn't stick, I'm not gonna be like, oh my gosh, the joke was so bad. I'm so sorry. I'm not gonna get stressed out like that. So maybe if you say something that's a little bit inappropriate for the situation, that's okay. Just gloss over it. Don't even worry about it. Again, unless it like starts offending someone and they're like really taken aback by it and it's like caused like a whole scene. Maybe then you can start addressing it in that manner. But otherwise, just gloss over it. Don't even think about it. Just move on to the next thing. If you start dwelling on it, people are gonna start thinking about it more and all that stuff. Just move on. So it's okay if you make a mistake. Maybe just admit that you made the mistake and move on. It's okay. They're not going to expect you to be perfect, especially if you make it clear to them that you're not the best speaker or you just started learning. You'll be okay. If you just started learning Latin, you made a small mistake to me, maybe I'd correct you. Like if something really small, like where it won't matter too much. Or maybe I'd ask what you meant if I didn't really understand. But I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. Just at most, admit that you made the mistake, or actually no, at most ask like how you could like fix it or how to correct it, and then most likely just admit that you made the mistake and then just move on. You'll be okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have like a mini 30-second ad in the middle of this video because it's pretty long, probably, I think. So if you're really interested, you want to like, if you've liked what you've seen so far, like the kind of the deep dives into everything and like me calling out some of the beliefs that you might have that might not be so valid, or like all the story to all this stuff that I've been kind of mentioning in the video, if you like, essentially, if you like the stuff I've been mentioning in this video, you might want to consider like signing up for my coaching calls. I think it would actually be really helpful. If you think that this video is really helpful for you, I think my coaching calls would be really helpful for you, and I think it'd be a great fit. Taking one for Dokipona, one for polyglottism, and one for polymathy. So for now, again, the slot is not scheduled. It's just essentially the session, and the time may change depending on your schedule, my schedule, whatever. And if you want to get started with Tokipona, if maybe that's the language you want to start learning, there are 25 free phrases in the description, so you can go check those out. They're free, completely free, no paying for anything, just for free. So, great. Okay, so after a short little ad break, here's another thing that you can do right now. Just sit here, preferably in your target language, but it's okay if it's in your native language or English. Just spend even 1 minute giving yourself positive affirmation stuff like, yes, I can speak the language well, I'm at a good level right now, I'm a confident type of person, that stuff like that. I know you're probably going to start cringing, thinking like, oh, this is stupid, this is weird and everything, but it's been shown to work. This is scientifically the stuff that works. And so that brings me to the next point, the one that you guys should all be celebrating and opening the champagne bottles for and everything, is the first one is affirmations. And the second one, I'm going to explain it. Don't get mad. It's the law of attraction. Now, I'm actually going to cover the second one first. And when it comes to the law of attraction, I'm not talking about sitting down and closing your eyes and like wishing, oh, I want a Lamborghini, and then you have the Lamborghini or whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about like the watered down one that like people are trying to like sell to you on social media, whatever. I'm talking about the actual one, which in reality, what it more so is it's connected to affirmations, where it's more like, if you start thinking about the thing a lot and you start seeing yourself as a type of person to have that thing or to. So essentially how it really works, and not just this whole manifestation ask for it you'll get it thing, how it really works is that if you think about the thing that you want a lot, or if you see yourself as a type of person to get that thing or to achieve that thing, your mind will start to kind of see yourself as a type of person who will do what it takes to get that thing. It's not about just something popping into existence. It's about changing how your mind sees yourself so you are more likely to do what it takes to do the thing. So for example, let's say let's say my goal was something crazy, like getting 100 million subscribers by the end of the year. And I thought about that a lot, and I saw myself as like the Mr. Beast type person to get that sort of stuff. I would then start to kind of like think in the manner and start to think of the things that would get me what I want. It's not about just popping it into existence. It's about changing your perception of yourself so that you will actually do what it takes to get there. You guys see what I mean? So this is where affirmations come in. So when it comes to gaining this confidence, if you like, I know it's gonna be stupid, but if you kind of tell yourself the stuff like, I am a confident person, or like whatever, I'm good at speaking this language, I can talk to people, whatever works for you. It doesn't have to be the same thing, but the same like idea would be ideal. Like, I'm quite literally on like my habit tracker thing that I always talk about. I have affirmations on there that it's a box to check off. So generally in the mornings, I say to myself, I am a good YouTuber. I am good at speaking. I'm good at coming up with good ideas. I'm a good polyglot. I am a good polymath. Whatever. Or might pertain to the day. So let's say, for example, something's like coming up for the day. Let's say I'm going to a social event or party. I might start to say to myself, let's say that there's some kind of social event or a party coming up. I might say to myself, I'm a confident person, I'm an outgoing person, I'm the type of person who will talk to people. And eventually you'll start to kind of see yourself that way. So it influences your actions, not the thing itself. It influences your mind and your actions. So I know it's going to sound really dumb, but seriously, just try it. Because if you have the belief that like, if you genuinely think that you can't do it, obviously your mind is going to kind of act in the way that you can't do it because you think that you can't do it. If you see yourself as this person who's not confident, who can't talk to other people, who's not good at the language, your mind is going to start acting in that manner. And obviously after day one of doing this, it's not going to be perfect. But after a while, you'll genuinely start to believe this kind of stuff about yourself. Now don't make it something like crazy, like I'm at a B2 level in this language. Obviously not. Don't say something like that. But just say that I can improve in this language. I can good at it. I can practice it every day. I'm the type of person who has like the discipline, the motivation to do this every day. I have the potential to get really good, to get to that C2 level in the language. I have the potential to become more confident. I am a more confident person, that kind of stuff. Stuff that's a little more realistic, not completely blown out of proportions or exaggerated, stuff like that. Just more realistic things that are positive about yourself is actually a big help. So seriously, I want you to say to yourself right now, I am someone who can hold a conversation in whatever language you want to talk to, or I'm someone who can be confident in whatever the language is. And that is really how you start to change yourself to having the trait of confidence, even if you didn't feel confident in it before, even though you had built up a level of competence. That's kind of how you, like, like the Dunning-Kruger effect type thing, where it's like the people who aren't knowledgeable think they know everything. People who are like pretty good or pretty knowledgeable at it think they don't know that much. And then the people who are really good or think they know or really do know a lot feel like the stuff that they know is basic knowledge. They don't think that they're like as amazing as they are. That's gonna get you past the point where you start to think this is what's gonna get you past the point, maybe skip over the point where you're pretty good at it, but you don't think you know anything. That might actually start to get you past that point. You might get you to the point where like you're not gonna start bragging about it, act like you know every single thing, but where you're like, yeah, I'm good at it, and I know I'm like pretty good at this. So that's how you change yourself to kind of develop, like, this is kind of how you change yourself to gradually develop the trait of being more confident in yourself and your abilities and all this stuff. So that's how like you change the trait. Okay, so we're starting to get to the end here. We're gonna wrap a couple points. I'm gonna give you like the full like plan to do, and then we're gonna finish up with this. So next thing I want to talk about is visualization. Now visualization. So next thing I'm going to talk about is visualization. Now I always pair visualization and affirmations together. Like I do them one right after the other. So how does visualization work? Well, essentially just close your eyes and imagine yourself doing what you want to do. Even from like the third person. That'd be first person, just you can be third person, whatever. Just imagine yourself doing it and doing it well. Like, again, I know this sounds silly, but it's been scientifically proven that if you do visualization for stuff, that like essentially it gives your mind like a practice at it. Like obviously, like if something physical, like I don't know, if you're thinking about hitting like what is it, the 3-pointer? Oh my gosh, if you're thinking about like hitting a 3-pointer in basketball, or I should mention that. Obviously, if you're thinking about something like, I don't know. Like obviously if you're thinking about, let's say for me I wanted to think about like sweep picking on the guitar. Let's say for me I wanted to think about like sweep picking on the guitar. Now you don't really need to know what that is, but it is a specific technique on the guitar. So obviously if I just visualize myself doing it well, obviously it's not like my muscles have like just gained like the muscle memory and stuff. Obviously not. What it really does is that, well, first off, it gives you an image of what you should be doing. And second, you can, if you really start to make it a little more vivid, these should not be too long. They shouldn't be like 5 minutes long or anything, just like 30 seconds, maybe a minute most, where you're just kind of visualizing yourself, getting a little more vivid with it. So like if I were to visualize myself sweep picking, I'd maybe visualize the specific move when I'm doing, maybe how it feels, and both my hands when I'm doing it, all this different stuff. Do you kind of see what I'm saying? So if you're thinking about like working hard, just visualize yourself like doing the work and doing it well and like doing the actions correctly and very well. Like I've done this before. I've when my main focus was working for the day, I would visualize myself working well. I'd like really focus on that I'm concentrating on the thing. I'm in a good environment where it's easier for me to do this. Environment is actually key for a lot of learning and like creativity, stuff like that. So that might be its own video on its own, but for now I'm just gonna leave that there. So just, if you have a habit tracker, like I've always recommend having, just add visualization affirmations to it. Just do that. Honestly, pair them together. I will, like, plenty times I'll like sit down, visualize myself doing something, and then normally if something specific for the day, I'll give myself an affirmation relating to what I just visualized. If the main event for the day is, again, going to a social event, I'll visualize myself at that event, talking to people, being outgoing, all that stuff. And then I'll have an affirmation like I'm a confident person, I'm an outgoing person, that kind of stuff. So again, this stuff is not just like pseudoscience. It is backed. Again, it's not going to make you perfect. Saying affirmation will not just instantly make you that much better at the thing. Visualizations will, again, not always make you just instantly better at the thing, like amazing, but it's gradual. And obviously do what you need to do. Like, obviously go out and talk to people. Don't just sit at home and visualize yourself doing it and hoping that you'll get better. Actually go and practice. But this kind of stuff is a good supplement. It's a good addition. It'll just generally enhance your abilities bit by bit. So it's not like a replacement for anything. It's in addition to actually going out and doing the stuff. So like the final big point that I want to mention here is having the growth mindset. So how would I define the growth mindset? For me, how I would define it is essentially I see it like this, that it's kind of the belief that you can get to a good level in just about anything. Like, obviously, like, you're not gonna get to a good level in like flying without the aid of a plane. Like, if you want to jump off a building and fly, obviously that's not gonna work. But it's something like, for example, let's say I wanted to become an excellent writer. The growth mindset would be that I would be able to get to a good level as a writer. Just, I need to put in the work and the effort and dedication. That is the growth mindset. So essentially the growth mindset kind of detaches the ability to get good at a certain thing away from like a trait that you have and as something that you can work towards. Maybe what I just said doesn't make any sense, but let me try and explain it a little bit better. So again, let's use the writer analogy here. That I want to become better at a writer, and I know that it just takes the effort and the time and the dedication to it, and like my own like willingness to stick to the plan. Not having the growth mindset would be kind of like thinking that I inherently have to be a good writer or not. So that's kind of seeing it as like a trait. I'm inherently a good writer or I'm not. But having it as the growth mindset is more like seeing it as a skill that you can develop. So if you start to see confidence and like getting better at all this, confidence with language learning and talking to people, all this stuff, if you start to see that as a skill, hopefully by using some of the techniques I've talked about before, like affirmation. So hopefully if you start to see getting better at this, So hopefully if you start to see getting better at this whole confidence with language learning thing, interacting with people, all this stuff, if you start to see that as a skill that you can develop rather than hopefully using the techniques we've learned, but if you can start to see that as a skill that you can develop rather than if you can start to see that as a skill that you can develop rather than a trait you just have or you don't have, that will really increase the amount that you can actually progress in this and get better. Now, I don't have this for every single thing I do. I have it for quite a few things, a lot of things, but not for everything. I have work to do there. But for most things, I know that I can get to a good level as long as I stick to it, do the work and all that stuff. This is especially valuable if you're like into weightlifting or whatever, and like I know I keep on talking about this a lot and you guys probably think I'm like some gym bro meathead, but but especially when it comes to that, like especially getting past the points where you feel like you're really small and you're not like gaining any sort of muscle and making any progress. Just the thought that I can still get to a good level in this. I just need to push past this bad part. It's just time, effort, and dedication. That really helps with anything, and this just helps with language learning in general. Just the knowledge that all it takes is the time, the effort, and the dedication, that with enough of this stuff that you can get to a good level in that language. That's what you need, instead of just thinking it's a natural ability to learn a language as well, or it's talent, or I'm good at it, or I'm not. Okay, so finally we can get to like the full plan here from all the stuff I've just talked about. And I know it's probably felt like a lot, you want to be done, but I think this will be really helpful. So first off is you need to set specific goals for building for so first off, you need to essentially set specific goals for getting better at language learning and for building your confidence in general. So first off, you need to set specific goals for language learning and for building your confidence, not only in language learning, but just in general. Next, you need to like kind of start embracing the mistakes that you make as really a learning opportunity, and it's just a part of the practice of doing this. And again, having that growth mindset, really thinking I can still push past, and again, having that growth. Next, you need to kind of like embrace the mistakes and kind of see them as a learning opportunity. And again, having that growth mindset where it's just, this is a little hurdle. I can still get to an amazing level even with this even with this small mistake. I don't know why I said smite. Next, make sure that you practice those affirmations. I'd say for a minute. It doesn't have to be like, eventually you can like work up to 5 minutes or something. I don't even do it for 5 minutes, but just even a minute of affirmations a day, really helpful. Just at the beginning or end of your day, just to kind of get that in there. I prefer at the beginning of the day because then like you kind of have these thoughts throughout the day, but whatever you want to do. So next, you need to like actually start to target the skills that you need to work on, which are mostly reading. So next, you actually like need to start targeting the skills that you need for interacting and gaining the confidence for the stuff. So what I mean by that, I mean just like speaking and listening. If you're talking to somebody, that's like the main skill you need to gain there. That's kind of it. You just need to have like a specific practice set in place to get better at speaking, pronunciation, and listening on all that stuff. Now that can be however you want. That can be just, again, going out and talking to people, or doing it on your own time, listening to videos, whatever you want to do, or podcasts and whatever, music, whatever. That's whatever you want to do. So next, you need to actually like kind of build that resilience up and kind of, get rid of the self-doubt, all this stuff. Again, you can do it. I believe in you. And if you have the beliefs that you can't do it, that is your own mind going against you, because I'm with you on this. I'm on your side. The part of your mind that's saying that you can't do it is not. So just ignore it. That's stupid. And next, just make sure that you can like get used to the culture more. Maybe part of why you're nervous is because it's different culture and you're not used to their customs. Just get used to it. Learn more about it. Again, interaction is always the best way to learn more. So just make sure that you can always try and do it whenever possible. All right, that was a really long video. Oh my gosh, it's probably like over an hour long. Again, if you really liked what I'm doing here, how I'm talking, all this stuff, I'd really recommend that you sign up for my coaching calls. I should be a link in the description. You can just check out, book a time. Again, it is subject to change, so if you want to, I don't know, if you select a slot and then maybe like you want to talk to me about it, I don't even know how this whole stuff works. But if, just honestly, just send me a comment. If you want to change your time for the coaching calls, just give me a comment in the video, or maybe I'll put like an email that you can use for this kind of stuff. I don't even know. Maybe not. But just first and foremost, just send a comment that you want to change the time, and I'll be more than willing to do that for you. So again, I think the coaching calls would be really helpful. I think that it'd be a great way for you to really progress in the 3 areas I mentioned. Again, I still have, currently I'm free right now, so you're free to sign up whenever you like. This is intended to be a little more long term. It's not like just one thing that you're done. It's kind of be like, this is intended to be a little more long term. It's not supposed to be like a one and done thing. Of course, you can do whatever you want. Um, you can just have one session and never want one again. That's fine. But generally, the way it's intended to be is more like I'll like guide you through this whole like plan that I have put together. And it won't just be stuff relating to the thing that you want. Like it'll be stuff that'll really help. It won't just be like, if you wanted to help with Tokipona, it wouldn't just give you like the words and the vocab and the grammar, just have you on your way. I'd really work through a lot of stuff that you can do really well and focus well and all this other stuff. So I think it'll be really helpful if you want to like have like a full like plan set in place that I'll make probably personally for you. And if there's any other stuff that you think I should like do along with the coaching, like stuff I can add in, like I don't know, I've considered like doing like emails every day or like texts to like kind of keep you up to date. I don't even know. But if there's any additions you want to like add on to that you think would be really helpful, just again, tell me during a session. I'm always willing to change this kind of stuff. And again, as I mentioned earlier, if you want to get started with Tokipona, there are 25 words and phrases down in the description just to get you started, completely free, no cost to you at all. So that'd be really good. So I really hope this video was really helpful for you. I feel like it's really helpful, and I also really need to use the bathroom. But yeah, I hope the video was helpful for you. I know it's, again, probably pretty interesting to my face. I just wanted you guys to get used to it so that it's not like some big reveal and it feels really weird to see my face for the first time. Just want to get it out there so you can finally see me. So yeah, I don't really have anything else to say. I think it's finally nice to just be able to just talk to the camera and not have to put the little character there. I might include him back. I might put him in more stuff later on. I don't know. We'll see. But other than that, tie your dogs a tie.